The U.S. Arab Radio Network is the largest Arab and Muslim radio network in America, broadcasting throughout the Midwest region Monday through Friday on WNZK AM 690. U.S. Arab Radio features Arabic and English language programming on every topic, from health, food, and culture to government, politics, and legal issues. Listen live to U.S. Arab Radio in Michigan, Toledo, Ohio, and Windsor, Canada on WNZK AM 690. And in Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia on WDMV 700 AM. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok. So join us every day on the U.S. Arab Radio Network and check out our website at www.arabradio.us.
And welcome to this week's episode of Two Guys on Politics with co-host former Illinois Congressman Bill Lipinski and columnist at the Southwest newspaper group, and myself, Ray Hanania, writer and columnist with the Southwest newspaper group and Arab News newspaper. And this is Season 4, Episode 23. Two Guys on Politics is broadcast on the U.S. Arab Radio Network on WNZK AM 690 radio, as well as on YouTube at twoguysonpolitics.com. We invite you to subscribe, and we hope you do. Bill Lipinski, as you know, served as a Democratic committeeman, alderman of Chicago's 23rd Ward, and was elected to Congress in 1983, serving through 2005. He currently writes the Right from the Center opinion column. And I covered Chicago City Hall from 1976 through 1992 and write mainstream opinion columns for the Southwest News, as well as Middle East columns for Arab and Arab American issues for Arab News. You can get more info on all that at hanania.com. On today's podcast, we're going to discuss Trump's crackdown on John Bolton, who was once his security advisor, and now he's a big critic. We're going to talk about testimony that Ghislaine Maxwell gave regarding Jeffrey Epstein to the Justice Department regarding Trump and Bill Clinton. And we're going to talk about Trump and Putin's failure to, there's no meeting. Trump promised meeting, there is none. And then we're going to add Trump's push to give himself the Nobel Peace Prize. I'm sorry, I've never heard of anything like that in my life. Segment 2 is we're going to talk a little bit about the UN, about the Gaza civilians, and the claims that from the UN that there's famine there and women and children are suffering. But we're also going to talk about the visa restrictions that Trump is threatening to impose to deport people who have visas, whose opinions he doesn't agree with and he doesn't like, or their activism. And then we're going to end it on Texas redistricting and discuss how Republicans and Democrats gerrymander maps all the time. All right, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back right after these messages.
A car accident can change your life in an instant. As a result of a car accident, you may become unemployed. As a result of a car accident, you may need a lot of medical treatment. People think that insurance companies are on their side. Why? Because they're giving them one or two benefits. Are they giving them all the benefits they deserve? How would one know unless you consult with an attorney?
Call the law offices of Jumana Kiruz at 248-557-3645. 248-557-3645.
With more than 30,000 successful in vitro fertilizations, IVF Michigan is now ranked as one of America's best fertility clinics according to Newsweek magazine. IVF Michigan fertility centers are the recognized leaders in high-quality fertility care. With locations in Bloomfield Hills and 9 other cities in Michigan and Ohio, IVF has experts in all aspects of the field. A founding member, American board-certified Dr. Nicholas Shama, is one of the leading reproductive endocrinologists in Michigan and Ohio. He has performed over 20,000 successful IVF cases, and it's helped thousands of couples fulfill their dreams of parenthood. When it's time to get personalized care from Dr. Nicholas Shama at one of America's best fertility clinics, call IVF Michigan Fertility Centers in Michigan and Ohio toll-free at 855-952-9600. 855-952-9600.
Okay, let's see. 3 orange folders, 2 blue folders, one white gym shirt, one box of 24 crayons.
Before you get started on that back-to-school list, get caught up on this one.
Measles, mumps, rubella vaccine, polio vaccine, chickenpox vaccine.
Protect your child from disease outbreaks. See a healthcare provider to get them up to date on vaccines and visit ivaccinate.org to learn more. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services and the Franny Strong Foundation.
The U.S. Arab Radio Network is the largest Arab and Muslim radio network in America, broadcasting throughout the Midwest region Monday through Friday on WNZK AM 690. U.S. Arab Radio features Arabic and English language programming on every topic, from health, food, and culture to government, politics, and legal issues. Listen live to U.S. Arab Radio in Michigan, Toledo, Ohio, and Windsor, Canada on WNZK AM 690. And in Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia on WDMV 700 AM. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok. So join us every day on the U.S. Arab Radio Network and check out our website at www.arabradio.us.
I'm Ray Hanania.
I'm Bill Lipinski.
And this is Two Guys on Politics, segment 1, where we're talking about Trump's crackdown on John Bolton. What, Bill, wasn't John Bolton one of Trump's biggest aides at one point?
No question about it. He was a national security advisor to Trump. I'm really very, very upset with this. In fact, I have decided that since Trump is doing stuff like this, I no longer can call him President Trump. I'm simply going to call him Trump or Mr. Trump, because to me, he's doing things that are destroying the American way of life, quite frankly. Now, I'm not a big fan of John Bolton, not his personality, nor the things that he has recommended over the course of time in positions of importance in our government, as far as foreign policy goes, as far as security goes. But I see nothing but revenge in what is going on now by the FBI against John Bolton. I don't think that there is a shred of evidence that has been brought up so far that says he has done anything wrong whatsoever. The books that he has written about the Trump administration have been totally and completely vetted by a Trump White House. But now Trump is contending that he's got some documents he shouldn't have. I do not believe it. I think it's terrible what Trump is doing. As I say, I am enormously disappointed in Trump. I have supported him on a number of things that he did because I thought that they were good for the country. And I still think they are. But this latest move by him, he's no longer my president. He's simply Mr. Trump and a renegade who is occupying the White House. I know that's very strong words.
All right.
I feel about it.
Yeah, well, Trump uses strong words all the time. He described John Bolton, his former national security advisor, as I think a slime ball or something. It was like, what kind of language is that coming from somebody who is president of the United States? I mean, you can criticize people, but in this case, Trump is pretending like he has nothing to do with it. So he's a slime ball. I haven't seen him in a long time. He's wacky. He doesn't know what he's doing, but I don't know anything about what the Justice Department is doing. I'm going, that is totally unbelievable. The idea that Trump doesn't know what's going on in any of those departments, he controls them with a leash. Every member of his cabinet is on a leash, and they do what he says. And if they don't do what he says, then he takes them out, and he has no hesitation to punish anybody like Bolton, who just got into a conflict with him, during his first term, and has since written several books criticizing him. So, yeah, I agree with you. Now, I appeared with John Bolton a couple times on radio discussions about the Middle East, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't like him. Now, there's a difference between saying I disagreed with him and I didn't like him and calling him a slime ball or whatever the phrase was that Trump used. And I'm just the columnist. I'm not the president. If I were the president, to degrade the office of the president in the way he attacks people is an insult to the American people.
Absolutely. No, and I said I don't like John Bolton. I didn't like him before he worked for Trump. I don't like his suggestions on foreign policy. I don't like his ideas on security. But he was Trump's national security advisor for a year and a half. Okay, so Trump must have had some confidence in him for a significant period of time. And for him to be calling, well, it's not only calling the names, he has to have the FBI going after. Now, the FBI director and the assistant director, to me, were nothing but PR guys for Trump when he was out of office on radio. They were both on radio all the time. They never had a good word to say about Joe Biden or any Democrat. They talked about Trump as a messiah that was going to save America and make America great again. And they got their reward. One's head of the FBI, the other one is the assistant. So as far as I'm concerned, those two guys have very little credibility.
Yeah, and the Bolton incident is typical of what we're seeing coming out of the Trump White House. And you either are subservient to Trump or you're his enemy. There's no, I disagree with you. So I think that that's a terrible thing. The other thing that it says, I think, is how he manipulates his power to suit his interests. And I think this is a great way to get into this whole controversy about Jeffrey Epstein, the pedophile who abused hundreds of girls, multimillionaire businessman, friend of a lot of politicians. And his girlfriend was Ghislaine Maxwell. And as we know, Epstein died in prison awaiting a second trial because he'd been convicted the first time, but they minimized it down in Florida, and they let him off the hook on a real mild slap on the wrist. But then as it grew, all these women started coming out, these young girls who became adults, accused him of sexually abusing them, and that he was assisted by Ghislaine Maxwell, whose father, I think, was a big newspaper baron, at one point. But
I know her father was a very prominent individual. I'm not exactly sure what he did do, but I know he's a very prominent individual.
Yeah, and she was convicted and sentenced to 20 years in prison for basically orchestrating these circumstances where Jeffrey Epstein was able to sexually abuse these women. So she's sitting in prison. The big question has always been what big politicians had, took advantage of Epstein's circumstances to provide young girls to have sex? And is there a list? And there's always been rumors. The Democrats have said Trump was on that list. The Republicans said Clinton was on that list. But Maxwell has been asking to be pardoned from Trump. And Trump then had his Justice Department interview her. And she flatly said, I never saw Trump with any girls. And I'm thinking, how do you even trust this interview? Because it's Trump's Justice Department that's doing the interview. She's going to say whatever she has to say.
Absolutely.
His name and get out of jail. What do you make of all this, Bill?
What do I make of it? It further sickens me about the Trump administration. I mean, you put it very clearly. She wants to get out of jail. They asked her these questions. Did you ever see Trump with any young girls? Oh, no, never. Absolutely not. Who can believe her?
Right.
Now, I think the 20 years that she got may be a little bit in, excess. I don't know. I've never followed a case that closely, to be perfectly frank with you. To me, it's salacious. I don't really want to follow it. I don't want to know that much about it. I think it was a terrible thing. I understand this woman took young girls, groomed them for sex with older men.
Right.
A lot of politicians, a lot of prominent business people. So maybe she deserves 20 years. I don't know. I don't know the case that well. What I do know is that anything she says in regards to Mr. Trump, I can't believe one way or another, because he's got the power to get her out of jail. She wants to get out of jail. That's about the extent of my, interest in this story.
But it's an interesting example of the manipulation of power by the president again.
Absolutely.
He has not said he's going to pardon her, but he said, I have the power to do it. And this was a big topic when he was running for office, when Biden was president, even during the first campaign. This issue had come up, and everybody was pointing a finger at Trump and saying, oh, he took advantage of it. The Republicans were pointing a finger at Bill Clinton, saying he was taking advantage of it. And then, of course, they arrest Epstein, and he's in prison in New York for 3 days when I guess he allegedly hung himself. I don't believe he hung himself. I think he killed himself. I think that there's more information about politicians who took advantage of Epstein at a time when he wasn't controversial. He was wealthy, had his own island, had his own jet, and you could travel to his island and do whatever you wanted to do, and nobody was supposed to ever see it. And Ghislaine Maxwell, in court, they proved that she had abused these women. A lot of them filed suit against her and against Epstein and have won their cases, these victims of the sexual abuse. So there's real substance to this. But now, because maybe Trump, my theory is Trump wants this dead. He doesn't want anybody to bring up him and Epstein again, and he's willing to put it to bed. And he gave Maxwell an opportunity to say, no, Mr. Trump, you were never there.
Right.
To just say he's a convicted felon and I can't trust her truth. It's just not true.
Well, I just have to say, though, and once again, I'm not defending Trump, but I think facts are facts. If Trump was really involved, all this information was available to the Biden administration.
Yes.
I cannot believe that the Biden administration would not have used this against Trump during the course of the campaign. Now, I've had some of my Democratic friends say to me, oh, well, we Democrats don't do things like that. That is totally and completely untrue. Both parties will do anything and everything they can to maintain power. They don't care who they hurt, who they scandalize. The only thing that's important is keeping their party in power. And that's the greatest problem that America has today. It's not Russia. It's not China. It's not Iran. It's not the Middle East. It's not Ukraine. It's the internal problems that we have in this country. And we've got to get those straightened out and get them straightened out soon.
Yeah, there are bad apples in every party, and I agree. It's not, you can't tarnish an entire party, Republican or Democrat, because of the misdeeds of a few. But I will point out, during the Biden administration and during the Trump administration, this came out against Clinton. During the Biden administration, they did bring this out against Trump. But the problem is, and this is what I think the problem is, because we've never had, I think, an honest look at all this. There are people on both sides that both parties want to protect.
Absolutely.
They don't want this out. And
Right.
I noticed that, Trump would not have wanted Maxwell to say Clinton wasn't involved. But I think she did that to reassure everybody that she's not going to blow the whistle on who was involved. I don't know whether Clinton was involved or not, but I know that there are pictures of him and Epstein and Trump and Epstein. I just don't feel anybody is telling the truth on this. And it's a shame, because it's easier to lie to the American people sometimes in national politics than it is to tell the truth. And when the president is involved, it makes it even more difficult to find out what's really happening.
Well, people could have said anything about Clinton, and unfortunately, people would believe it because of his situation in the White House,
Right.
when he took advantage of, that young woman in the White House. What was she, 21 years of age?
Yeah, she was an intern, and she was an intern working for him, and Monica Lewinsky, and it was that was terrible.
Absolutely. So if he was capable of that, I'm sure he was capable of flying out to this private island. Of course, if I was married to Hillary Clinton, I might be no, I'm not going to say that. But
I know you don't have to. She's the reason I voted for Trump the first time.
I can understand that.
I voted for Biden the second time, and then Harris, I felt just wasn't organized, and she was wishy-washy, and she wouldn't take a position. And I decided I can't support her, so I figured, okay, I'll give Trump a chance. And of course, I just don't think, you and I both know in politics, sometimes it's the lesser of two evils.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure that we both wish, and we've talked about it in past programs, how good it would be if some of the great Democrats or Republicans who are out there principled would run for president and lead the party, because both parties are in trouble today.
No question about it. No question about it. I just want to say for the umpteenth time, I didn't vote for Trump the first time, the second time, or the third time. And I would never vote for him for anything. I just want to get that on the record.
Yeah, well, listen, you were a diehard Democratic Party member for years.
I didn't vote for Hillary Clinton either.
No, I get that.
Yeah, conservative line that I vote for.
You represented your district. You represented the interests of your district. You were loyal to them, and I wish every politician were loyal to the citizens, not just the people who vote him in office. So, and then we also saw this again. Every once in a while we get a burst of Ukraine. It used to be every day. It's a horrible, in my opinion, Putin terrorism, targeting civilian targets and cities in Ukraine. But we've gotten so used to it that, now it's only every once in a while. And then Trump, who's trying to give himself the Nobel Peace Prize, is really hoping that he could resolve this Ukraine thing. And I think he doesn't care what the price is. If it means letting Putin take Ukrainian land, if he can get peace in my time, I want the Nobel Peace Prize. I think that's Trump's goal. I don't think it's about peace in the Ukraine. What do you think?
No, I think he should get the Neville Chamberlain Award. That's what he should get, because of the way he's selling out the Ukraine. And first of all, he was going to end that war the first day he was in office, or maybe the second day. Of course, it's still going on today. But he also has sat down with Trump. Trump allegedly said, I'll meet with Zelensky in 2 weeks, face to face. We'll hammer a lot of this stuff out. And he also said that Putin was perfectly okay with the security arrangements that were outlined to him. Putin says that's not true. Those security arrangements, he's not happy with. He doesn't want troops that are anti his government stationed so close to him. So that's not working. The other part of it, it's not working either. They're not having any meeting in 2 weeks. Putin now says maybe 2 months, 3 months, while he continues to bang and bang and bang against the Ukrainian people. When are the Europeans and when is America going to have Putin pay the real price for this war?
Right.
We've got to start doing that. Otherwise, he'll just keep doing what he's doing. He'll con Trump at each and every phone call, each and every meeting. We'll never get any place. So the Europeans got to stand up.
I agree with you, Bill. I think that Trump has two agendas. One, to give himself the Nobel Peace Prize. And two, I don't think he cares about the war in Ukraine. He did promise during the campaign that it would be one of his first things. He would end it, because this war started. I mean, it's hard to remember when you think about it. It was like in February of 2022.
Yes, absolutely.
We're in August 2025. This war continues. To me, it's a demonstration of the weakness of the United States. We were the leader of the free world. That was our mantle. And under Biden, it slipped. And under Trump, it's slipping even more. I don't just blame Trump for no,
I don't either.
Our image. I blame Biden and Democrats and Republicans. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So I'm more worried about that Ukraine is a symbol of our problem, that we can't do anything. That's the biggest challenge. And that's what hurts us the most, I think. 20 years ago, if this had happened, Bill, I bet Reagan would have stepped in and ended it, or we would have seen, even Clinton probably would have stepped in and ended this. but we're not seeing that kind of leadership. Now they're more focused on themselves. Trump is all about himself, and that's it.
Absolutely. And I wish there was something I could say positive about Trump, because this program certainly sounds
Right.
like anti-Trump. And we're not anti-Trump. What
No.
we are is pro-American.
Yeah.
And until he starts acting like a real American president, we should continue to criticize anything we think is wrong.
Yeah, I will be honest, though, lately a lot of his policies, they have nothing to do with his personality, but I don't like the way he's going about tariffs. I was watching somebody talk about there's 3 different ways to deal with tariffs. You could do micro tariffs where you target a certain product, like maybe automobiles in Japan, or macro tariffs that focus on an industry like the beef industry, in Argentina coming into the U.S. But there's also the Trump strategy, which is just blanket, no strategy. You just impose a tariff, use it as a bludgeon to get your target to agree to do something. But in the meantime, it's creating havoc in our economy. And so that's something where I criticize the policy, but it's a reflection on his, I feel, lack of leadership. Now, on the other hand, maybe we should talk about, we didn't actually prepare this, include it, but the city of Chicago came up this week. He brought the National Guard and the military into Washington, D.C. to confront crime. And now he's saying that, he wants to do the same in Chicago. I'm not sure if I think that's a good idea, but clearly Trump is at least thinking about confronting crime, which is more than what anybody before him did.
Well, I do not think much of the present mayor of the city of Chicago. I think he's blundered in many, many different ways. I think he's caused a lot of problems for the residents of the city of Chicago. But I don't believe that Mr. Trump has any legal ability whatsoever to send troops into Chicago to act as policemen, act as any kind of occupiers. I don't think he has a legal leg to stand on. The Washington, D.C. was a different story. That's federal, government property. It's really the federal government that has the bottom line authority there. They have, over the course of the years, given more and more authority to, elected officials within Washington, D.C., but they can withdraw it at any time. But as far as moving troops into a city like Chicago, I don't believe he has a legal leg to stand on. I believe if he were to move to do that, the courts would definitely stop him from doing it. I also believe it's just another thing for him to shoot his mouth off on, that he's going to go in and do this in the city of Chicago, hoping that somehow it diverts people's attention from other things that he's doing. And I'm not going to go into those right now because we'll go into them later on as the program progresses. But he's not sending anybody into Chicago, believe me.
Yeah, it's the only thing that's good about it is, in my opinion, and I agree with you, legally, I don't think he can send anything in, at least under the current circumstances, other than Washington, D.C., which is under federal jurisdiction. It's to somewhat. He's raising the issue of crime.
Yes.
In a way that he's saying it needs to be addressed.
I agree.
Mayor Johnson isn't doing that, and neither is Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, who is supporting Johnson, instead of addressing it and offering an alternative answer to crime. Pritzker could be telling us, how do we deal with crime? Could be pursuing legislation to do that. Instead, he's more about we're the 48th worst state in the country. 48th worst. Why his goal should be to move us up the ladder to maybe the 40th worst state. Even if we were the 40th worst state, if he moved us up from 48 to 40, that would be a positive move, and you'd have to give him credit. But
Absolutely.
We're not. We're like one of the worst, and it's just the combination of what Trump is doing, the problems that we have here in Illinois are overwhelming, I think, for people who live in this state, and it's very depressing.
And the property taxes that we pay in Cook County are just absolutely incredible. And what are we getting for our property tax money? But that's a subject for another time and another place.
All right, Bill. All right, listen, I think we covered a lot of topics. So you think I'm sure that you don't agree that Trump should get the Nobel Peace Prize, but let me ask you a question. What's the likelihood that he'll be nominated for a Peace Prize given his activism and his push and the clout that he has?
Well, I don't know if he has any. Does he have the ability to appoint anyone to the board of directors that awards the Peace Prize? If he does, he'll win.
No,
But
I don't think so.
I don't think he has any ability to do it. So I think his chances of doing that is zero.
And I see his sycophants, his minions, his supporters, they're all clamoring, nominate him for the Nobel Peace Prize. So there is a movement out there that he is lit and provoked. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue our discussion on the famine in Gaza, the suffering of women and children, the visa restrictions that Trump is going to impose to deport people who he feels have been critical in a certain way. And then we're also going to talk about Texas redistricting and gerrymandering and how both Republicans and Democrats basically across the country have done the same thing. We'll be right back right after these.
Welcome to El Shaba Restaurant at 2029 15 Mile Road in Sterling Heights, where you'll be treated to the finest in Middle Eastern cuisine. Enter into the exotic atmosphere of tantalizing aromas and enjoy our chicken or beef shawarma hummus, kebabs, specially seasoned Syrian-style beef burgers, babia fatouche salad, soups and sandwiches, plus desserts that include baklava, ice cream, and more. Just call in your order at 586-565-6661 or go to our website and place your order now at elshaba.square.site. That's elshaba.square.site. Then you'll see all there is to choose from. Try us today. You'll like us. We are located at 2097 15 Mile Road in Sterling Heights. Life for Relief and Development has now been rated as one of the best charities for humanitarian aid. Life's humanitarian projects span the globe, and Life is celebrating its 30th anniversary of providing essential life-saving aid to people and communities in 36 countries, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. Where there is life, there is hope. And when disaster occurs here or around the world, including being one of the first responders to the Turkey-Syria earthquake crisis, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. We are looking to help the earthquake victims, and we take 0% overhead on emergency donations. So please help improve these efforts. Learn more about our involvement to help the helpless and bring hope where it's needed most, and make your tax-deductible donation to Life for Relief and Development now at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493. That's 248-424-7493.
Okay, let's see. 3 orange folders, 2 blue folders, 1 white gym shirt, 1 box of 24 crayons.
Before you get started on that back-to-school list, get caught up on this one.
Measles, mumps, rubella vaccine, polio vaccine, chickenpox vaccine.
Protect your child from disease outbreaks. See a healthcare provider to get them up to date on vaccines and visit ivaccinate.org to learn more. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services and the Franny Strong Foundation.
The U.S. Arab Radio Network is the largest Arab and Muslim radio network in America, broadcasting throughout the Midwest region Monday through Friday on WNZK AM 690. U.S. Arab Radio features Arabic and English language programming on every topic, from health, food, and culture to government, politics, and legal issues. Listen live to U.S. Arab Radio in Michigan, Toledo, Ohio, and Windsor, Canada on WNZK AM 690. And in Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia on WDMV 700 AM. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok. So join us every day on the U.S. Arab Radio Network and check out our website at www.arabradio.us.
I'm Ray Hanania.
I'm Bill Lipinski.
And we're back here at Two Guys on Politics, segment 2. We got a bunch of topics like we did in the first segment. I think we covered a lot of stuff there, Bill. The United Nations says that there is famine in Gaza. And the reason why I think it's important to us is not only because this famine is involving kids, thousands, tens of thousands of children and thousands of women. But we are one of the biggest financial supporters of the government of Israel. And it's the government. And I'm not criticizing Israel, the country. I'm criticizing a government policy where I think, and a lot of people feel, that they're using this famine to pressure the people to get rid of Hamas. And I think getting rid of Hamas is a good goal for the future of the Palestinians, but you don't use famine and you don't punish and kill civilians. And that's what the Netanyahu government has been accused of. But it's our money that's financing this. And I know a lot of people are concerned about it. It's been the headline over the past, month or more. These images of children. I saw that Netanyahu was announcing that he was going to impose, and he wants the U.S. to follow his lead, restrictions on social media to block these photos of these civilians who are starving to death or being shot, by Israeli soldiers. He wants the control of that, and I think it's causing a backlash against Israel's government in this country, not just with the left, but also with the right, and also with American Jews. A lot of American Jews are speaking up and are angry with what Netanyahu is doing to Israel. They believe it's undermining Israel's status and posture here in the United States, and I think it really is.
Well, listen, I've been a supporter of Israel my entire political career, my entire personal life. I've supported Israel. I still do, but I have said right from the beginning that the way that Netanyahu, has conducted this war has been a very big mistake. He's winning the battle, all right, but he's going to lose the war because each and every day, the way he prosecutes this war is costing him the support of countries around this globe. Pretty soon, there's only going to be two left, Israel itself and the United States of America. And I think that's a terrible place for us to be. And we have the power to stop this. Now, I want to see that war stopped. And I want to see, the Jews prevail as much as possible. But I am tired of seeing those Palestinians be persecuted because of their leadership. And I blame their leadership, but now I blame Netanyahu even more for what is going on over there. It is just hurting Israel more and more in the long run.
Yeah, and as you know, I've also supported the state of Israel,
Yes.
accepted a compromise that included the two-state solution. I know it was pushed by a lot of past presidents, including Clinton in the past. It didn't work. The extremists on both sides have always blocked it. But I think sometimes that gets blurred. Criticizing a government is not the same as criticizing the state of Israel. So I think your position is very legitimate. I think a lot of Americans are like you. They're kind of caught between this history of definition where the pro-Israel movement, the extremists, have conflated the state of Israel with the government of Israel. I criticize our government. We just spent a whole segment criticizing the American government. That doesn't make me anti-American.
Absolutely not.
America. Best thing that ever happened to me was my father immigrated to this country legally, and we became American citizens. I just want to see the government do the right thing, and especially I want to see an end to government violence against civilians or bad government response to terrorism, because Hamas is a terrorist organization, and they've had an influence over this whole peace process going back 40 years, which really needs to end. They need to stop them. So, and then there was the other issue we have. It kind of touches on people from the Middle East, but it's everybody. If you have a visa, and President Trump, I guess, is saying that they could void that visa depending on how you express your opinion in this country. So you're not allowed to be critical. For example, if you criticize Israel, they're going to target you and revoke your visa. But yes. I'm sure it's other things. If you criticize Trump,
I'm sure,
revoke your visa. So, what do we know about this new law that he's trying to push?
Well, I mean, we don't know much about it other than what we've read in the newspaper. There hasn't been an awful lot in the newspaper, but the Wall Street Journal has carried it. And if the Wall Street Journal carries it, I have to believe it's true because they've been pro-Trump a long time. As time goes by, they're getting less and less pro-Trump. In fact, they have an editorial in their newspaper today about the situation with Trump and Bolton.
Right.
They certainly are not on Trump's side in regards to that case. Once again, we get, I don't know, Ray, I don't know where to go with this stuff. Netanyahu, I think that, he's become deranged. I think he thinks he's fighting Nazi Germany the way he's handling this situation in Gaza and with the Palestinians. He's not fighting Nazi Germany.
Right.
These people have nothing to do with Nazi Germany. But to me, that's the way he's acting. He is being so, mean, persecuting them the way he is persecuting them. And you can't tell me he doesn't know that this famine is going on and all these people, are close to death because of his prosecution of the war. And I hate to say that, because I do support Israel. I know how terrible the Jewish people have suffered over the course of the years in this world. But, when one of them go off the reservation, we have every right to criticize them, just like we criticize the people who for years have been anti-Semitic and even worse than that, not only in this country, but around the world.
Yeah, there's a Congresswoman, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I think she's from Georgia. She's from Georgia. She is a big supporter of Trump, and lately she started questioning whether it was appropriate to give money to a government that was involved in this type of violence against civilians, Israel. And now the pro-Israel movement has targeted her, and now every day, and I think this is what hurts Israel. What Netanyahu is doing has caused a hardcore MAGA Republican like Marjorie Taylor Greene from Georgia to come out against Israel government and challenge and criticize them. And instead of responding to them, what Netanyahu and the pro-Israel, the extremists are doing is now they've told her that they're going to take her out. They're going to run somebody against her to silence her. And now she's even more of a vocal critic of Netanyahu than she ever was. The smart policy of a smart government would be to say, wow, we're getting this backlash. We need to reassess what we're doing and try to find a way to satisfy hardcore supporters like Green to get them to support us rather than make enemies out of them. That's what's happening to Israel. That's never happened before. Israel's government are pushing the line, and it's Republicans that, like Massey even, who is condemning what they're doing. So we're hearing more and more politicians who for years have been silent now coming out and speaking. So I thought that's a good example just to point out how he's damaging his country.
If the Israelis, if the Jewish people in this country, knock her out of office, they're going to regret it. She's going to go to some cable TV station, and she'll be on every day, and she'll be pounding and pounding on Netanyahu and on Israel. She's going to be a worse, critic of Israel than she was when she was in the United States Congress, because she'll be free to do so each and every day. That's the only issue that, she will focus on. So they should be, once again, I don't know who's planning their strategy in this war or how to win friends and influence people, but whoever it is, they ought to get rid of and find somebody else to do it for them.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then finally, our final topic is back to American politics, electioneering, gerrymandering. We have all these Texas Democrats who fled to Illinois for sanctuary because they didn't want to vote on a redistricting map. And this is an interesting strategy. They're saying that Trump is worried about the midterm elections, and he wants to bolster the Republican Party's ability to elect congressmen so that he doesn't lose control of the House. So they're going to redraw the districts in several states. Texas is the first one, so that they can give an advantage to Republicans to get elected. to create a district that gives more Republican votes so a Republican more easily can get elected and thereby protect Trump's hold on Congress, the Republican Party's hold on Congress. But this is something that happens all the time, right? Gerrymandering, redistricting, this is politics in America. Whoever has the vote and the power, they draw the districts to reflect what they want, right? Illinois is a good example, right, Bill?
No question about it. Illinois has 3 Republican congressmen.
Out of 17, right? Or 17, I think.
I think it's 17 or 18. I really don't remember it exactly at the present time. I've actually been gone 20 years, as hard as it is to believe. But certainly in a state where Trump got 44% of the vote, okay, and the Democrat candidate got less than 50% of the vote. She won the state all right, but she got less than 50% of the vote.
Right.
And Trump had 44% of the vote. The Republicans are definitely entitled to and should have more than 3 members of the U.S. House of Representatives. So if things were fair, I believe that what should be done is Illinois should redraw their map, to give the Republicans, more seats. They should have at least 6 seats, maybe 7 seats.
Yeah.
Let me say this to you. When I was in the last year that I was in Congress, the last redistricting that I was there for is the way I should say it. I sat down with Speaker Denny Hastert, and I said, now you can say this is right, this is wrong, but I said, Denny, we have 1 less seat than we have had. I suggest that we write the boundaries to take care of all the incumbents, whether they be Democrats or Republicans. We have 1 member is going to lose his seat. It should be the person with the least seniority. It turned out to be David Phelps, a Democrat from Southern Illinois. We put him into a district that we tried to make 50-50, if at all possible. It frankly was no longer possible. We had to make it a more Republican district. But that's the way we did it. It was bipartisan. We protected the incumbents. Now, you can complain about that, but that's the system that we used. And I think it was a lot more beneficial to this country to do it that way than the terrible gerrymandering that has gone on in numerous states. I'd like to see it be done impartially, but frankly, Ray, I don't know how you do it. How do you find people impartial enough to be given the responsibility to draw congressional maps? Where do you find these people? Who is that objective that you could put them in charge of it?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it used to be that Cook County had a large Republican representation, not a majority, but pretty close. DuPage County was at an overwhelming Republican control. You'd see it on the Cook County board and the DuPage County board, and Will County was kind of divided. But bipartisan government, having 2 parties that can stand up to each other, is a good thing.
Yes.
And what we've seen in Illinois, for example, is we, as you point out, we only have 3 Republican congressmen and 14 Democratic congressmen in a state where, as you note, 40% are Republican. You're right. They should have 6 Republicans. Now, why is that a good thing? Not because it helps Republicans, but because it forces the majority party to be on guard and not go to excess, to do wrong things. If you don't, it's a checks and balance. If you don't have voices on both sides, one party can do whatever it wants to do. And that's what we're seeing on the national level with the Republicans and what we saw on the national level when Biden was president with the Democrats. We don't really see a coming together of Republicans and Democrats. The Cook County board is 17 members and only 1 Republican. The problem there, obviously, is that the Republican Party has poor leadership in Cook County,
to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, that the problem isn't that there are no Republican voters. They're just no good leaders for the Republican Party in Cook County. And it's what we're seeing is a reflection of the deterioration of some of this leadership issues. We're getting bad leaders who are running for the wrong reasons and talking about the wrong topics. who are not qualified to be there. The Cook County Board should have at least 5 Republicans just to keep the Democratic Party, and I'm not saying they're bad, from ramrodding legislation through without a public discussion. It keeps it honest. It's the same way in every industry, like the news media. There's a time, remember my dad, when every Sunday he'd have 5, 6 newspapers, Sunday newspapers. They kept that diversity of newspapers, 5 of them, kept the other media from being biased. Everybody forced each other to be honest and to cover the stories right. We only have 2 papers now. One of them is very weak, and anything can be written sometimes, and you wonder, where does this come from? So this imbalance is bad for America and bad for democracy.
Well, one thing I would like to see more people elected to public office that are true Americans and are interested in doing what is best for the United States of America and not what is best for their party, whether they be Republicans or Democrats. We have to get away from that. We have to get elected officials who once again think of America is what is very important. That's what they should see thrives, and not to worry about their parties.
Yeah, and of course, one example was you in the 5th district. You know, you felt that it was important to the 5th district at a time when Reagan was the president to get some benefits and to support policy, international policy that you thought was right, not
Correct.
because it was partisan. So I thought that that's the kind of government. Nobody should be 100% Democrat. Nobody should be 100% Republican. There's no such thing as 100% of any candidate that reflects my views 100%. If I get 60%, I think Reagan, what did he say, 70%?
If you give me 70% of my legislation, I'll feel like it's a great victory.
Yeah, and I think that that should be the goal, not this.
Absolutely.
Now they want to impose 100%, and if you don't do 100%, you're a traitor. They smear you, they attack you, they denounce you. So we've seen this happen in Illinois, this redistricting, and it should be done the right way. But unfortunately, if different states are gerrymandering, you have to gerrymander to offset their gerrymandering. It just gets worse. Is there any possibility that this redistricting could be done nationally in a fair way by a commission? I mean, what's the solution, do you think, to redistricting? If you let every state do it, it'll depend on who controls the state.
Well, I don't think you'll ever be able to get it beyond state control. I think it's going to always be state control. I don't know how you do it, Ray, because as I say, I don't know where you find people who are objective enough.
Right.
You know, you could set up a committee in Illinois of 10 individuals, 10 Democrats, 10 Republicans, and let them hammer it out.
Right.
Fine. They hammer it out, but whoever doesn't feel like they got the correct number of seats, they're going to take it to court. And who knows what the court is going to say, because the court could say, well, this commission, it was set up, really wasn't a legal commission. They didn't have the authority to do so. They were not elected representatives of the people. And the Constitution said the redistricting is supposed to be done by the elected representatives of the people. So it's a very, very difficult question to answer. I do not have the answer for that at the present time. I do know, though, that in order to help out America, we've got to do something about it.
Yeah, we should have basic rules, because in Illinois, they count illegal aliens as being part of the census, as being part of a congressional district, and they really shouldn't be counted.
No.
Because they're not qualified to vote, or won't age to the point of 18 where they will then qualify to vote. But there should be basic rules, including, like, you can't create weird looking bowling alley districts that are 40 miles long and 2 miles wide just because you want to get a slice of Democrats or a slice of Republican majority. And that doesn't, remember what they did to create a Hispanic district for Luis Gutierrez? They took the Puerto Rican district on the north side of Chicago and the Mexican district on the south side of Chicago, and created a little alley umbilical cord that connected the two areas. And it was the weirdest district possible. But, I think it should be like cohesive districts. And I think if they did that, and if they were forced to do that, where they divided it in a clear manner, not these weird districts, we might find a solution. But again, it is a challenge. All right, Bill, I think we're at the end of our show. Any final thoughts about anything at all?
The only thing I would like to say is that we've been very critical of Mr. Trump in this program. I'm sorry that we have been, but the truth of the matter is he deserves it, because I think that he is hurting America with Americans and also with people in foreign countries. And we cannot be the leader of the free world if we are going to continue to have the image that we have because of Trump. I hope and pray that he can see the light and become the president for all the Americans and forget about any kind of retribution whatsoever and try to really be the peacemaker that he contends that he is.
All right, Bill. I'm Ray Hanania.
I'm Bill Lipinski.
And this has been Two Guys on Politics. We'll see you again next week. We appreciate everybody that subscribes and watches our program at twoguysonpolitics.com on YouTube. Thank you. Have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye.
Are you going to start a restaurant or grocery store soon? Do you need floor plans and designs? Call Najee Abood at 734-744-9796. Do you want to buy kitchen and restaurant equipment at discount prices? Call Najee Abood now, 734-744-9796. New Concept Products and Design, the trademark of kitchen equipment. 5% discount on all purchases of $75,000 or more. New Concept Products and Design, new location, 31185 Schoolcraft in Livonia. Learn more at www.newconceptproducts.com. Call Najee Abood, 734-744-9796.
Life for Relief and Development has now been rated as one of the best charities for humanitarian aid. Life's humanitarian projects span the globe, and Life is celebrating its 30th anniversary of providing essential life-saving aid to people and communities in 36 countries, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. Where there is life, there is hope. And when disaster occurs here or around the world, including being one of the first responders to the Turkey-Syria earthquake crisis, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. We are looking to help the earthquake victims, and we take 0% overhead on emergency donations. So please help improve these efforts. Learn more about our involvement to help the helpless and bring hope where it's needed most, and make your tax-deductible donation to Life for Relief and Development now at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493. That's 248-424-7493.
Ziyad brand. Quality products from our family to yours. Ziyad Brothers Importing offers the finest quality products, including brands like Sultan, Kraft, Nestle, Hook, Rico Picon, Donna, and many more. Ask your retailer to carry these fine products because you deserve the very best. For more information, visit our website at www.ziyad.com. That's www.ziyad.com. Ziyad, quality products from our family to yours.
The U.S. Arab Radio Network is the largest Arab and Muslim radio network in America, broadcasting throughout the Midwest region Monday through Friday on WNZK AM 690. U.S. Arab Radio features Arabic and English language programming on every topic, from health, food, and culture to government, politics, and legal issues. Listen live to U.S. Arab Radio in Michigan, Toledo, Ohio, and Windsor, Canada on WNZK AM 690. And in Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia on WDMV 700 AM. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok. So join us every day on the U.S. Arab Radio Network and check out our website at www.arabradio.us.